Hello, it's Friday afternoon. We're here at WRMN 1410. My name is William Pelarenos. The show is Life Experiences. And today we've invited one of our avid and loyal listeners, Jeff Walsma, also known as the Dutchman. He listens, he calls us up, and we invited him to come and talk about his life experience. It seems that in the late 70s to the 80s, Jeff was a firefighter for the U.S. Forest Service. Is that correct, Jeff?
Correct.
Yeah, okay. Jeff's going to talk about some of his experiences with firefighting, large areas, forest fires, also car crashes, all the stuff he saw. And we have some equipment here today. We're going to talk about some of that. We have a Pulaski axe. If you're not familiar with that, we're going to explain the history of the Pulaski axe and how it's helped out firefighters fighting forest fires, brush fires, stuff to that effect. So, Jeff, welcome to the show.
Thank you for having me.
Matthew, you're on the board. We got phone lines up today?
We do, 847-931-1410.
For text?
505-926-1410.
And we are on YouTube Live.
At youtube.com at WRMN Radio.
Thank you very much, Matthew. So text or call in your question or comment. Jeff took a ride out here to be with us today. He was here bright and early. We're going to talk about, before we start talking about all these forest fires that you fought, and you're familiar with also smoke jumpers and most recently people, their familiarity with forest fires and brush fires, especially out in California, which was where you were, would be the Palisades fire that recently burned thousands of acres and a lot of homes down there in California. You're aware of fires and you fought similar stuff, correct?
Correct. In my stomping grounds is the Angeles National Forest, which was, it's right there. But we were always running around helping the county and the city and the state. California it's kind of unique. California has a lot of fires throughout the year, all year round now. And the big thing is they have a incident command system that they can involve everybody from around the world, in fact. So, the Palisades fire, unfortunately, it shouldn't happen, even though the kid started the fire. But it's 1920s, 30s buildings, and the infrastructure that goes up there, like the fire entrance, there's maybe two within about 10 miles up there. There's no fire station, and it's a lane and a half. So trying to get a fire truck there when everybody else is trying to run down the hill and you're trying to go up the hill is next to impossible. I had my scanner on when that happened, and let me tell you, it was scary. It was scary. Those guys were struggling from start, and it was a no-win situation. And the winds, when they blow, you can't do anything. You shoot up water, and it goes this way. When the winds stop or back off enough to where you can get a handle on it, then it's a little bit different story.
Yeah, you told us a little bit about your training prior to the start of the show, and you constantly, as a firefighter, check the weather for winds, as well as also checking maps of the area where the fire is going, where it can go, where it might go. That's correct, right?
Yes. Well, most of the time, when I train, when I first started, they give you a 32-hour training course, and then depending on the station you're at, you go there and you do a lot of calisthenics, you do a lot of running, and then depending on the situation, you might, if you do a lot of car wrecks or rescues, you're either working on helicopters or you're working, learning medical stuff. This is back in the days when they didn't have cell phones, and they didn't have a lot of equipment they have now. That was the thing about the Forest Service. Their capabilities back then they were very minimal. When I got into my third and fourth year and beyond, it was we always had one guy that was an EMT on the truck with us. Now, so the big thing was learning all the different types of equipment and then the weather and the fire triangle, of course. And the different ways to put it out. And then there's a what they call a brush triangle. I forget what the name of it is exactly, but you go a step further in your training every time you're there. Every year you go there, you go a step further in your learning, kind of like college. It's a seasonal job. You start usually in May, April or May, and then you go through December. Maybe that's it. I had one year where we worked all the way through January. And then you would have an occasion where if you do got a chance to do controlled burning in the winter, you would do this what they would call 13 pay periods on, 13 pay periods off. We would basically go up there and work a project burn for a week, and then you're off again until summer.
Let's explain something to our listeners, and this is something that we got down here too in the forest preserves, especially Cook County. Controlled burns. Explain them what a controlled burn is.
Well, it doesn't get the heat will clear out. I mean, the fires clear out most of the debris, the bad stuff you don't want in the non-native species, like the real tall grasses and weeds and some of the trees that are not needed. It gets a lot of the undergrowth. And if you do it right and you don't get it too hot, you clear out all the stuff and you don't damage the natural environment.
So
it gets tricky. It gets tricky if you don't know what you're doing, and you should have proper supervision if you haven't done it before.
and what Jeff is saying is that authorized personnel, fire department personnel, are actually starting the fire to get rid of foliage or some kind of dead weeds or whatever can start a fire. So they're just burning it out of the way, correct?
Correct.
So those are controlled burns that are controlled by the fire department. You understand? You following us, Matthew?
I sure am.
Have you ever seen one of these? Mm-mm. No, I've seen a couple of them, and they're very tricky. So, you're getting a lot of fire personnel, you're getting police personnel to block off the area. You never know. And Jeff made a good point in the beginning, the winds. You cannot trust that wind.
Yeah.
Well, I called it fighting the dragon. You never really conquer the dragon, but you tame it. So I've seen the dragon, and that's what I call the Santa Ana's is a dragon, because it can be really nasty. In Southern California is known for this. Now, there's other parts of the country that have what they call a Chinook. You get further up north in California on the coast, you get it by Monterey, up in San Francisco, they call that the Chinooks. You get them out in Montana and Wyoming. Different parts of the country have their version of Santa Ana winds. But most of the time where I was at, because of all the hills, and California's unique because of the ocean and the hill country, and you got Hollywood Hills. Everybody's seen the Hollywood sign. There's a valley in there. All the winds come off the forest where I was at, in Angeles, and it goes through the Santa Susana Mountains, and then ends up in the ocean. And they can do some weird stuff. Instead of going this way, they'll go this way. And that's where the training comes in as a Forest Service firefighter. Now, we did train on car wrecks. We did train on a lot of helicopter stuff. We also trained at, I actually worked the Fox tanker base out in there and learned about, and I did this on my days off with filling up air tankers out there. And this is when the prop jobs were out. When I saw a jet flying, I thought that was just crazy. But you can maneuver them better than you can a regular prop job. And unfortunately, one of the pictures I showed you, the one doesn't exist. And they were on a fire up in Monterey, and the wings fell off. So, I mean, it's inherently dangerous, but it's also a fun job. And most of the time, when you're not fighting fires, you're basically working on campgrounds, doing trail maintenance. I did a couple of times. I was working with what they call the YACC, Young Adult Conservation Corps, and it was a blast. Teaching people about the environment, the young kids, how to do things like Boy Scouts. I always considered a job like Boy Scouts. Yes, I'd lost a few friends in them. It's not pretty. It's just like any other thing else. Being a cop, as you were, seeing your friends die, and then other things happening. It's tough. It's tough. Overall, it was a blast.
It's a dangerous job, but it has to get done. And the people that choose that job know what they're getting into. These are, I hate to use the old adage, but the best of the best. They do intense training, and it's not only training, it's also experience. The more of these type cases you have, the more experience you get. You start looking for other elements, access to water. And you know what? We touched a little bit. You happened to mention it. Now, people know what smoke jumpers are from airplanes.
That's what I call the Forest Service versions of the Navy SEALs.
Yes,
You really have to be the stamina you need for that is a lot of physical training, a lot more than what I did. But I did, and I kind of joke around about this, but I did everything they did except I didn't jump out of a plane.
But you and some of your associates, you rappelled off of helicopters, correct?
Did that in training a couple times, yeah.
So what the idea is, the helicopter takes you into a landing zone. You rappel down there, and you go to work, correct?
Yeah, they trying to like car rescue somebody going off a cliff, or just climbers getting stuck down there and stuff like that. How to use the gurney and just the different types of knots that you would take. It's kind of like Boy Scouts. That's what I was saying. I was doing that. It helped me when I went to. We used to do a lot of tree maintenance, clearing out trees off the roads and some trails, and it helped me a lot doing that. So climbing up in the tree and so it was fun. You're out there when we weren't doing fires. It was kind of like you're in Boy Scout camp, and you would go and work on do this. The only thing I got kind of upset at people. There were signs that would say "pack it in, pack it out." Well, you would go into a campground, you'd find somebody's chair laying there or something. The kind of, the trash, the amount of trash was, but that's just, it happens everywhere. So, but the firefighting thing was, I was constantly trained. I asked to be on night maneuvers. I didn't bring this one up, but when they were doing, back in the day, they didn't have night vision goggles. So their eyes were really sensitive to any kind of flashlights. Now, my helmet here had a light in it, and it was like a flashlight.
So the helmet.
My helmet had a little flashlight on it, and you could probably see from 20 feet, maybe 30 feet. Well, the light, the way this thing was sitting, it was in the middle of the night. You're walking around, can't see anything. You hear things moving around, and bears and critters and trees falling. That's the biggest thing. One of the biggest problems firefighters face is what we call a widowmaker. Is a branch coming down when they're trying to cut a tree, and the branch falls down and hits them in the head and kills them, or they get rolled over by a log. That actually was the worst, because this year is a good example. They lost 4 people doing that. And the trees can do all kinds of stuff. And I showed you, I don't know if I brought my chainsaw books, but my chainsaw is one of the most, in the Forest Service, that's the number one tool that they use. Because that's the guys that are in the front, that on the front of the fire, that are cutting the bushes down and trying to get rid of the debris and, and there's a technique that you have to keep everything sharp. That Pulaski I got back here used to keep it sharp enough so we could cut that paper. It was always a challenge between myself and other crew members. We were always trying to make it like a paper cutter. So it was kind of a joke, and there's always, the crew members were always come up with something. We always try to challenge each other on something, so.
Folks, if you're following us on YouTube, this is the Pulaski Axe. It's named after Ed Pulaski, who put this together back around 1911. And explain the function of this.
Okay, so this is the grubbing end. All right. Normally this is sharp. Normally it's about a half an inch, quarter to a half an inch, and it's usually pretty sharp. And this one, and that's for grubbing the ground when you get into the root system and stuff and getting small branches. This one you can actually take a tree down with. When you sharpen it right, you do it a certain way. You go from here to here. This one's a little bit wider than it should be because it's old. But when when you're using a Pulaski, you're basically on a hand crew or any crew. You do a minimal amount of work because there's always two other guys in behind you doing that. So you got the chainsaw guys, you got the sawyers, you got the Pulaski guys, you got the shovel guys, and when they have another one that's called a McLeod, which is basically my fingers. It's like a hole this way. It's like a rake, and then the backside is a hole, and the backside is sharp. And you rake it. You can cut. Same thing. You could actually take a fire shovel, which is regularly a shovel we would use at home, sharpen it enough with a file to do the same thing. It's got to cut a piece of paper in half. That's the way I was taught. And, they were really on it. If you're on a hand crew, you constantly are sharpening your tools. And there's a distance. You got 19, 20 other guys you got to work with. So there's a certain amount of distance between you and the guy in the front. And the reason they do that is you work so far, you make, it's kind of like an inchworm, except, doing faster than an inchworm. And it works out pretty good. I mean, the time goes faster than you think it is. And that thing right there, I loved using that. I didn't like doing the McLeod so much because that's usually more in the back. Now, they've got added to, some places you go to the south, they use a broom. They actually use a broom to, move things around. But there's a lot of training involved. And you've probably heard duff and litter. And that's the stuff, that's all the debris underneath the tree. Those are good for digging that up. So I apologize. I don't have enough tools with me, but
No, it's okay. You know what? We try to get enough audio and visual information out to our listeners and viewers, and this show is archived on YouTube so they can watch it later. Matthew takes care of that for me. So I wanted to talk real quickly before we go to the second half, some of the fires and some of the experience you had. Let me see. We talked about recently, you weren't involved with the Palisades Fire, but Tamaluca, California, there was a flash fire in a canyon. You guys fought a canyon fire, right?
Well, we were on a strike team, and my engine, where my station was, we were probably a good 100 miles away. So they basically sent about 4 engines from my district, and we went down there. And it's usually 1 engine from each district that comes with. And we went down to this place. It's you said Riverside County. It's south of where I was, south and a little bit west, south and west. And it's a lot of wine country. And it was kind of funny because I'm watching the grapes burn. You ever see grapes burn? That's how dry the fuel moisture is. I was telling you about that. At one point, we were measuring the fuel moisture in the grass. It was 2%. That's the humidity in the moisture in the plant life. And the outside humidity was probably 7, 6. And that adds to the factor of the way the fire is acting. So, so my boss goes to me, he goes, well, we were on a canyon one time. Him and I were up on a ridge top, just above a canyon. And I'm sitting there looking at the smoke going, and the helicopter's flying back and forth, making water drops in another part of the fire. And I was explaining to Bill here, the way fire science works is there's gases in the bottom. At night, the fire lays down a lot. And in the morning, it starts coming about 9:30, 10 o'clock. The gases in the canyon come up. And what happens is, it's kind of like throwing a match on an empty gas can. Whoosh. Flash fire version only out in the wilderness, like you would have in a house. And that's exactly what happened. And I'm running down a hill, me and the rest of the crews that are up on the hill we were doing water line and line, trying to hold the fire line. And as I'm running down a really steep canyon, it's spot firing in front of me. Me and another guy were running with a hose pack on our back. And the thing is spot firing, and all of a sudden the whole place went black. And we're going, where's the fire truck? We couldn't find it. And it was right in front of us, just all the smoke coming down, And once everybody got in their engines, we took off and went to another end of the fire where there was a cul-de-sac. And the 25 fire trucks went into this cul-de-sac. And this is where I think it's kind of funny. When my boss goes, take that flare and light that grass on fire. That's like every day's grass, everybody's grass. I'm going back and forth, and it's going whoosh, whoosh, whoosh. And then the arborvitae bush is a real tall and spindly. It went up like a matchstick. There wasn't one house. There was 14 houses. There wasn't one house we lost. Everybody did a bang-up job.
So that fire was leading towards residential areas.
Oh, it was in residential. It was going back and forth. And because of where it went, everybody's house was in the middle of nowhere. But there was a cul-de-sac that had brush all around it and stuff. And in a lot of canyons, a lot of hills, and that, like I said, that all influences the way the fire behavior is.
I understand what you're saying. I don't want to cut you short, but we're going to run to a commercial break. How many seconds we got?
46.
We got 40 seconds before we go to commercial break, and we're going to talk some more with Jeff Walsma here, who is not only a retired firefighter, he also does woodworking. Jeff, you do woodworking, and you got a YouTube page. It's called All About N Scale, N like Nora. Correct? With Jeff. All About N Scale with Jeff, correct?
Yep. And then the other one's the Dutchman's Woodshack.
And that's what he does. He creates wooden items such as bowls. You used to furniture, right?
Yep.
Upon request. We'll talk about that. We're going to go to a commercial break. Stay with us. We'll be right back with Jeff Walsma, retired firefighter and woodworker. So we'll be right back. Stay with us. 2 minutes. We'll be right back from the news break. Life Experiences with William Pelarenos, and we are here with a retired firefighter from Southern California, the Forest Service, Jeff Walsma, also known as the Dutchman. And before we went to commercial break, I told you that Jeff does woodworking now. He's got a YouTube page called All About N Scale with Jeff. His also, you're on this YouTube page called, or Facebook rather, Caught the Firebug, and that's 2 words, Firebug. Caught the Firebug, correct?
Correct.
Okay. So you can look up more about Jeff as we continue the discussion. He brought some equipment here, but real quickly, I brought some home equipment that I keep at home. I'm not selling this stuff. It's just stuff that I have. Easy Fire Spray by First Alert. I keep this in the kitchen. I also keep this in the kitchen, this fire extinguisher. And you've seen this, the fire blanket, Matthew.
Yes.
You've seen fire blankets when they throw over stove fires, stuff like this.
Yep.
This is actually 72 inches by 48 inches. It's big. It could probably stop a barbecue fire, too.
Wow.
Barbecue grill.
So I've had a chance to use it, so it works. I know.
I was a policeman. I aided the fire department in many cases, and the firefighters work hard. But if the homeowner can get a slight grip on this until the fire department gets on there with the right tools, it really helps. Mm-hmm. I also keep a fire extinguisher upstairs by the washer and dryer. You never know. A friend of mine was drying his clothes, left the house, which a lot of people do. The dryer caught fire, burnt down the whole house. There was nobody there. Smoke alarms must have been going off, but nobody heard them because a lot of people do this. They'll run the washer and dryer while they're gone.
Yeah.
That's a big mistake, and it was a sad case. Insurance, even though you got insurance, it doesn't cover all your losses. Yeah. Especially your whatever, your furniture, your expensive paintings, collector's items, stuff like this, and you really got to stay on top of it. A fire is one of the most dangerous things on earth, and sometimes they're mechanical, sometimes they're electrical, other times they're man-made. And we were talking about we touched a little bit on arson fires. Were you involved in putting on any arson fires out there in California?
Yes, I was.
You got a quick story for us here?
Oh, I was on one time where the guy was lighting a fire as we're putting them out.
What?
Yeah, we were in.
He saw you guys putting it out, and he kept lighting fires.
Yeah, they do that all the time out there. You get people that are just they're lost.
I know.
This guy was lighting them. Lighted the first one, and then he went off further to the south. And as we were putting this one out, he lit another one. So we went from that one, and there were still guys working on this one, to the other one. And I think there was 3 fires altogether. They caught him eventually, but it wasn't that night.
But you know what? It's like Vietnam. You gain a mile and you lose 2. There's more ahead of you.
Well, and some of it is kind of self-induced stupidity. I mean, I remember one year there was a guy that was burning leaves in a 55-gallon drum, and he caused a major fire. And back in the days, back when I was doing it, they used to make the culprit pay for suppression costs, and that can be in the millions of dollars. God knows what it is now, but people, the way things are going now, we have people moving into the forest and out in the woods, getting away from the suburbs, and that's a big problem, because when you do that, they still want to live like they did back in the cities and have brush, nice plants and a nice planter around the house and all that. You can't really do that when you live in the woods, because now if you ever get in a fire, it actually makes things worse. But there's rules and regulations, and I know people hate this. Sometimes Dennis and I talk about this at night, and the biggest problem is that the infrastructure that is put out there and the mitigation, the political part of it, is driven a wedge between what's right and what's political, and that's not right, and it puts everybody in danger. This is the big thing with the firefighter. You got, and my hats are off to people like you. There are ex-cops and cops all over the world. Same thing goes. All my buddies, past and present, that are still doing, and in the future, all the firefighters out there. Emergency workers don't get enough credit, and I think it needs to step up. We need to step up. The next time you see a fireman, next time you see a policeman, why don't you go out and shake their hand? And that's what I want to say about that. So,
plus, in those wooded areas, you have cabins. People rent out cabins. There's also people that need to be saved. That's just putting out the fire. You have to rescue these people.
yeah.
And there's
Sometimes
also,
they fight you on it too.
say it again.
Sometimes they fight you on it. They don't want to go. That's what happened in some of the places in Palisades. Palisades, they had, from what I understand, they had 2 or 3 people didn't want to leave their house, but they were up in their 80s and they were like, they don't want to.
There's always people that there's emergencies and they don't want to leave their area. This even happened in 1980 when it was Mount St. Helens. The volcano was exploding. Not the volcano.
Yeah, the volcano.
Yeah, volcano. There was people that didn't leave.
I was
at
on
least
that.
one that I know for a fact, and he died there.
I was in the Forest Service.
You were there,
when
you
that
said?
happened. I didn't go there, but I was on when and all the bells and whistles went. The thing is that when that happened, there wasn't really a lot of fires. So it was there were a lot of there was a few fire stations that got wiped out. And I mean, I can't remember the guy's name at Spirit Lake, but yeah.
Let me touch on something. In Illinois, we're a big farm state. You know that, Matthew, right?
Mm-hmm. Yep.
And you've also fought fires on farms, right?
Yeah.
Yeah. So tell us a little bit about these farm fires. Does it start with a
fires.
brush fire? Or,
Well, it could be, believe it or not, broken bottles can start a fire.
a broken bottle?
Yeah, that's not. When they used to tell me when I first started training, this can't happen. You're going to be fighting fire in the snow in Southern California, right? It happened, and it happened during Halloween one night. Anyway, but the broken bottle acts like a clear bottle, act like a magnifying glass, and if it's laying in the right position, it can light a fire. It's a true story.
Yeah. And then there's also lightning strikes.
Lightning strikes are a big problem, especially out there, because a lot of them are dry lightning, which there's no rain with the lightning. Even here, we've gotten less rain and more lightning, and you got to be careful of that. I had a friend, one of the guys in that picture I showed you, that first one, the big one, he died from lightning strike.
Hang on a second. Matthew, you got that photo of his crew?
It's the crew.
Yeah, put it on YouTube here. This was his firefighting crew from 77 to 86.
That's the guy that's standing there leaning up against a real tall guy. That's Harold Schumann. That was the guy that was at the time they called him foreman, not captain. And then I'm the one at the far right at the bottom with the white T-shirt on, and the other two behind me, the guy that died was in that blue shirt up there. That was Rob, and then that's Larry, and then the guy on the end with the red hair, that's Carl. He stuck it out. He ended up being a division boss or something. Juan left, and Don ended up being an EMT, the guy next to me.
And they gravitate. That's EMTs and firefighters going, hey, we got some of his firefighting equipment, some photos, some of the trucks, and some planes, air tanks that I think these drop water on forest fires, correct?
Yeah. I loaded. That was fun. When I saw a jetliner doing it, it just kind of freaked me out because.
So what is this one? This is
okay. That's what they call a Model 50. That was a 4-wheel drive. That's a fire truck. It carried 300 gallons of gas, 300 gallons of water, and it had 3,500 feet of hose. And the way it works is in the back, on the top, it removes, and you can. That's where the main line comes in. Most of it is 1.5 inches, but then you have inch, and then the two reels on the side have 250 between the two feet of hose on there. So there's a reel, like a hose reel on either side. They've updated that version since then, but
the equipment's improved over the decades. But I just wanted to show some historical stuff that you worked with. There's another. Is this GMC?
No, it's an international
truck.
crew cab. Yeah, and the same thing. This one has a little bit more updated equipment. We had some medical equipment with that. That station was Mill Creek Station. It was at the top of the mountain in a saddle. In between the desert and Pasadena, and so we always have a lot of car wrecks. We used to train with the county of Los Angeles. That's a big thing back then. They just started doing this, what they called it, incident commander stuff, and the mutual aid.
Mutual aid. So with mutual aid, you were going to the cities like Los Angeles City or Los Angeles County to help them with residential fires and structure fires, correct?
Well, it depended on the fire season. Sometimes there are guys that are stretched out, and they've got people from all over the world going around them there, basically. But I mean, yeah, there's times. I did the structure fire a couple of times. We had some buildings that we had to take care of. I kind of freaked out with that Scott mask on there. I got claustrophobic. I mean, I didn't freak out, but I'm crawling around trying to feel my way through, and I'm yeah. And you can't see anything. I'm like, oh my God. Yeah, that was
thick smoke.
Yeah. But I mean, once you get where the flames are, it was a little bit different. But thank God they've got devices now that's why I say we need to put the money in to do equipment for firefighters and police people. It's uncanny what we do without it. Having worked back then and seeing friends do it now and the things that happened, and I know people that do it here locally, it's uncanny. I go, I did that. That's kind of what I look at. But there were so many different things they teach you in the beginning, the first week or two that you're doing this, that you're learning not only firefighting techniques, you're also learning about the engine, you're learning about working on other engines, you're learning about helicopter, how to approach, that's the other thing, how to approach it, and air tanker work. I'm trying to remember all this stuff. It was nonstop.
Let's talk about some of the rescues you did. You also rescued people, car wrecks, correct?
Yeah.
Tell us about a couple. You said somebody, the body actually went through the windshield, or the driver. Tell us that.
This guy, up in the woods where we were at, the main road going from LA to the desert, it's called Highway 2 in Angeles National Forest. Anyway, this guy was driving a Volkswagen station wagon, and he went around one of those turnouts. They had dirt on the ground, flipped the car, ended up going through the window, and he was face down. And he's sitting there like with his hands out like this. And he was an Oriental because you couldn't understand anything he was saying. He was going off. He ended up being okay. He just got road rash.
So you had a language barrier. You couldn't understand
Yeah.
what you...
When you kind of get an idea when you've done it a couple of times what's going on and how he feels and stuff. So, and there's always somebody in the county that knows that language that come up because we had a lot of in California. You have a lot of Orientals, but that was interesting because I'm going, how did he? And he had the steering wheel. He had the steering wheel still in his hand.
Wow. And he survived it.
Yeah. I had one when a guy was riding one of those crotch rockets.
On what?
On a motorcycle.
Oh,
The old Hondas, they first came out. And you hear this down there, because we were up on the top. You can hear everything going on. 5 minutes later, same thing. Guy hit the turnout with all the dirt on it. And he rid that across. His bike was scattered for 100 feet, right? And he's up walking around. His bike was this far from going over a 100-foot cliff. And him, too. So he was darn lucky.
These people should start lighting candles. They don't know how close to death they came.
Yeah, well, there's a couple of turns there people forget about.
Yes. Even in a very built-up area like we are out here in Cook and Lake County and DuPage County, there's turns. Mm-hmm. Especially, I heard recently there's a turn in DuPage as you turn off the expressway, and I'm going to go out there and take photographs of it, where cars have gone too fast on that turn, flipped, crashed, and died. Several people have died, and I guess maybe retains water. Mm-hmm. But I just recently found out about this. I'm going to go take some photographs, and we're going to talk about a traffic safety show that I'm going to put on later on in the year. So, Jeff, you said firefighters and first responders don't get enough credit, but I want to tell you something. RMN, the radio station here, we do the First Responders Fest. Uh-huh. You were out there.
Yep.
We gave awards. I received an award myself. Thank you very much.
You're very welcome.
Not only to the first responders, but you gave awards to veterans.
Mm-hmm. Yep. All our first responders and veterans.
No, you're a vet too. Vets too. My dad was a Korean vet. So.
Okay, so listen, we were talking about the Pasadena Hills. That was a lightning strike, right? You fought that fire, correct?
So a sage fire, yeah, it was a lightning strike. Oh. And what happened is an engine crew was in. It was a different crew. And it died down that night. And then all of a sudden we got the Santa Ana winds, and it kicked up the next day, and it went from like 1,000 acres to, it ended up being, I think it was 47,000 acres.
If you don't know what the Santa Ana winds are, just Google it. You'll see some video footage. They can be brutal, and they're there all the time.
Well, I don't know.
Seasonal.
The 84 Olympics, I was there. Okay, so we could not go anywhere when the Olympics. We were on duty all the time. We didn't have any days off. Everybody was grounded for that, and thank God we didn't have any fires. But right after that happened, we had this Devore fire, which is, it took out 200, 300 homes within half an hour. Now, this is back in the day when they had all shake shingle roofs. So that wood that was on the roof caused the fire to leap over houses. And that's what you don't want. It's like a tree fire. So the sage fire was going over the top of me. I'm in an engine sitting there. That one picture you showed up, I was in the back of that thing while it's going over the top. And there's power lines that feed LA going from the desert, and you can hear them crackling as you're underneath them. I said, "Oh, that's not a good idea." There's some crazy stories. I can go on forever.
It gets intense. Wherever you're fighting a fire, sometimes you think it's a small fire and it leads to something devastating. Mm-hmm. Sometimes it's a large fire that you're easily put out, but there's no rhyme or reason to that. When I was on patrol, it was summertime, and there's some sage area, bushes, brushes. Mm-hmm. In a highly developed area, it got bushes all over the place. The bushes caught fire. It was a brush fire that started. So I called the Palatine Township Fire Department, get out here quickly. And it was escalating by the time they got. There was nobody. It wasn't an arson. It just started by itself. And the firefighter told me, because of course they're more experienced in this stuff than policemen. This is the time of year when it happens. Everything's dry. That dryness.
Yeah, it does. We've been getting drier.
Yeah.
So we've getting the benefits of global warming. And we haven't had a lot of snow the last few years, and the moisture's way down. And at the station, every station had a weather station. It was probably this tall. It had all that stuff that I was talking.
Come a little closer.
And it had the well, I was telling you, it could tell you the moisture and the wind speeds and all that stuff. And you'll be surprised how much things have changed here since I've lived here since '87. So I remember we used to get slammed in the '90s when it was, flooding here, flooding there. Neighborhood got flooded and all that. It was crazy. Here it's gotten drier, and that's the thing that everybody has to be careful of. If you're going to be out in the woods here burning leaves like a lot of the farmers do, you got to make sure that you don't do it by the hay fire. If hay fire you can't put out, you just have to pull it apart. Water doesn't put it out. Joshua trees doesn't put out. We were talking about that.
Yeah, tell about the Joshua tree.
Oh, Joshua Tree National Park. Okay. National parks by law, by Congress, you cannot use motorized equipment in. So the only thing you can use would be, in a hand crew, would be the tools that I was explaining earlier. And so they teach you how to put a fire out without using basically water. You could use sand. We used to have the helicopters come in, dump a load of water in a spot, and then take and make mud, and then take the mud and put, whatever. But you're basically literally walking around a trail, a fire line, kicking dirt on a fire.
So you get this? He's got the equipment, but by law he can't use it. You can't bring fire engines. You can't have chainsaws cutting these trees out of the way so they don't get burnt down. They have to the old-fashioned way by hand.
Yep. You learn. I showed you a book. It was the 10 standard firefighting orders. But it's to me it's the Bible. It's a Bible for the firefighters, and there's a lot of stuff in there that pertains to today's life. One of them is give clear instructions and be assured they're understood. That's the big thing for me. If you tell somebody something, tell them exactly word for word, and make sure that they repeat it the same way you said it, word for word. Now, my wife will get all over me for saying that. You don't do that. But I've been married to my wife for 47 years. We just had our anniversary, so she's a godsend to put up with me, let me tell you.
I'm going to put her in for an award also. At our next award ceremony, we're going to put in his wife for an award for putting up 47 years. So what I wanted to touch base on before we go, because we've got about 3 minutes here, it's not only your training, it's your experience and the equipment. And over the years, luckily, fortunately, there's been new developments in the equipment. And one of the equipments that I saw as a policeman, and I was amazed by how it works, is the Jaws of Life. You've seen these, right?
Yeah. They had them out. We were talking about. They had them out there then, but we didn't have them on the engines. The Forest Service was kind of. It was a little behind. They've improved vastly since then.
It's still out there. It's still out there putting out forest fires. So
I love that. It's my favorite tool.
And
I'd love to get a hold of
and even populated area.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah, populated areas like here, we even got, we have forest preserves in wooded areas, and people build homes around these. Mm-hmm. So you got his website there and his Facebook, his YouTube?
Yes, that is Caught the Firebug.
Let's put it up on.
Is that it?
This guy is great. We go back and forth. I send him stuff. He sends me stuff. And there's a community out there of firefighters, wildland firefighters. And we all do this. We all do this together.
Put that back on. It's Caught the Firebug on Facebook. Yep. And how much time?
10 seconds.
10 seconds. Jeff Walsma, check him out on YouTube. All about N Scale with Jeff and woodworking. Just in the search engine, put Jeff Walsma, WALSMA, right?
Right, correct.
Okay. Thank you for being with us. Next week, same time, same place.